Everyone and their mother has been asking me via direct message and email and sometimes even carrier pigeon. That's right. Some of you folks still use carrier pigeon about Kindle Vella. They're like, dude, what is your thought about this? What do you think? Is it awesome? Oh, I think it's trash. Oh, goodness gracious. It's great. It's awesome. Well, I want to kind of look at this from a neutral perspective and just see, is this going to be something worth everyone's time, whether it's fiction or nonfiction authors? Is this going to be worthwhile, or is this just another little toy Amazon's going to play with until they figure it's not drawing enough money and just get rid of it? We're going to talk about that in today's episode, so make sure that you stay tuned. What's happening? It's Dale here, and I'm just tickled to death you took a little bit of time out your day to spend a little bit of time with me to talk about my favorite thing, and that's self-publishing books. Hey, normally I go into a sponsor spot and I talk about all the sponsors, but I want to kind of name you as the sponsor of today's podcast episode. If you're listening to this or you're watching this on the YouTube channel, yeah, that's right, you can catch it on the YouTube channel. If you go on over dalelinks.com/YouTube podcast, hit the subscribe, because we are going to be starting to doing the recording of the podcasts live on YouTube every Monday at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Daytime. Yeah, so don't miss out on that. Become part of the 2K sub club. That's right, we already broke 1,000 subscribers, so you missed that boat, but at least you can probably still be able to get into the first 2,000 subscribers. Awesome. Let's push forward here, because now we've got a lot of ground to cover today. And just to let you know, we're only going to scratch the surface and just getting a good overview of Kindle Vella. And I'm going to I'm not just going to say try, I'm going to stick to the facts. And anytime I want to interject my opinion, I'll make sure I'll let you know, because I do have some strong opinions about this one here. So KDP, this past month in April, they had announced this whole thing about Kindle Vella. And this is what they say about their product. We're introducing a new storytelling option, Kindle Vella. With Kindle Vella, US-based authors can publish serialized stories, one short episode at a time. In the next few months, readers will be able to access Kindle Vella stories in the Kindle iOS app and on Amazon.com. Now, there's some people that are kind of wondering to themselves, but wait a second, how is this different from Kindle Direct Publishing? It's kind of like a spin-off, if you will, right now. But there is integration with the KDP dashboard. So just stay with me here just a second here. What do we know for sure? Okay, so we know that it is a specific Kindle app that's called Kindle Vella. Customer facing, the person gets that on their iOS device. Now, is it available on Android? Remains to be seen. I'm sure eventually they'll probably roll something out. That essentially what Kindle Vella is almost like Amazon's answer to the demand for episodic reading, to binge reading fiction, more importantly. If you take a look over at the fan fiction / self-publishing site of Wattpad, you would see that they have a similar model. I'm not going to go into depth about what Wattpad does or doesn't do. Instead, we're just going to continue on here with Kindle Vella. You can submit your manuscript through the Kindle Vella portal when you go to kdp.amazon.com/Kindle-Vella, or you can just Google up Kindle Vella and you'll see there's a link for it. Just a heads up, it is US only. So if you're anywhere else, you're kind of, hey, I've got a following, I'm up in Canada, will this work out? Well, if your following is in the US, then you're good to go. But if it's up in Canada, too bad, so sad. Right now, the Kindle Vella program is still in beta. All right, so just knowing that. Now, other specs for us to be kind of aware of. What do they accept? They will take manuscripts that are 600 words to 5,000 words. And they have to be episodic, meaning that you're not just doing a standalone short story. This short story needs to build out into a larger universe of sorts, into a full series, if you will. You can publish all the episodes at once if you want to, or you can even trickle those episodes out so that way readers can choose whatever they want. Now, this is the part that I think a lot of people need to pay closest attention to is the first few episodes of whatever it is that you're doing, whatever series it is. Those first few episodes is free for the reader. So you better hook them good in those first few episodes, or they're not going to be tempted to go and buy more. Now, I'm going to get to cost and all that stuff here in a bit. I just want to take our time here. We're going to ease into what type files are they accepting. This is a very interesting one because normally on KDP, you are able to submit doc, docx, PDF, EPUB to a certain limited degree and MOBI files. There's so many files they accept, but they only accept 2 file types through Kindle Vella. It's doc or docx. They essentially have an online editor that you're able to put, if you want to, you just go to Kindle Vella, you can already just start writing into their online editor, or you just copy and paste what you're working on into their online editor and work from that point on. So all that to say this, that it is not super fancy. So if you're thinking to yourself as a nonfiction author, you get a ton of pictures in your books and you're like, oh, this is perfect, I'll be able to put all my graphs. Here's what they said. At this time, Kindle Vella supports basic formatting, such as bold, italics, and underlines. Just when you're thinking, oh, well, that's not too bad, they made sure to let you know what they do not accept. The following formatting is not currently supported, and that includes indented paragraphs, images, charts, tables, special characters, and emojis. I know some of you are probably crushed out there because you were getting ready to probably put out a novel with a ton of emojis in it. Anyway, I meant to say novella, but there we are. That's what we're living with now. All right, so the ebook covers are very interesting. This is the part that got me going, that's kind of interesting here. The ebook covers. This is not your traditional ebook covers because typically you're dealing with a rectangle. With this, you're dealing with the square format. Now, this is where you got to pay closest attention. They want it to be at least 1600 by 1600 pixels. Okay, pretty doable. JPEG or TIFF files. Fantastic. It's got to stay below 2 megabytes. Okay, not unreasonable. I think we can do that. Here's the catch. They don't want you to put your title, and the print is not necessary. All they want is a square image of something that relates to your specific book or series. That's it. Like, this is the easiest book covers you're going to probably do ever. So if I were to say right now, if I were to go bullish on things, the part I'd be most excited about is playing around with new cover designs. Being square and figuring out what's going to get the buy, what's going to get people interested in purchasing more books in my Kindle Vella series. All right, so what about the metadata? The metadata requirements are somewhat the same as what it is over on KDP. Again, we're going to probably do a deep dive this next week on the podcast talking about the various features that KDP has versus Kindle Vella. So let me just go ahead and simplify this. There's an intuitive user interface. Very easy. Like, honestly, dead simple. The part that gets me most excited is that the branding for Kindle Vella matches the branding that they've been doing on Author Central lately. If you haven't taken a look at Author Central, I also have a whole video series on the main channel where I talk about some of that. The user interface is just beautiful. I've really liked Author Central. So seeing that incorporated in Kindle Vella gets one to thinking, and this is speculation on my part here, folks, so that's is my opinion. All right, so with that being said, can we expect to see the user interface change in the Kindle Direct Publishing platform? Makes you kind of wonder. So the thing that they have that's a little bit different is they have the 7 keywords in the back end metadata, kind of like what they do over in KDP, but they're called tags, and they have to be 25 characters or less per keyword. Yeah, so that's half as much as what you can get away with on KDP. I'm sure it's probably going to be more than sufficient. And I'm going to tell you why eventually as we're kind of weighing in on all these. So the next thing is you're allowed to have what's called author notes. Let's say that you want to carry a good conversation with your audience, talk about the backstory, maybe give a few notes. Author notes is perfect for it. It's up to 200 words. This is a tool to build engagement on your story, so avoid including any links or prompting readers to leave the reading experience. So with Kindle Vella, they do not want you to put a link to subscribe to your latest email newsletter. They don't want you to put in a link to your website. They don't want people leaving the Kindle Vella app. They want them to stay on there because obviously if they're staying on there, that means they're reading. And if they're reading, that means that they're going to hopefully open up their pocketbooks and spend a bit more money. And I'm going to tell you about the buying system, by the way. It's kind of weird. All right, so here's the deal. Exclusivity. This is what a lot of people are probably most concerned about. Do I have to be exclusive? Yes, but no. Okay, you're probably going, well, that's really helpful, Dale. So what I did was I'm going to take their own words and share them with you. And I'm going to have you dissect it best that you can. And I'm going to weigh in on how I feel it's a bit confusing. To provide the best experience for readers, Kindle Vella stories should be written specifically to be released into serial format, one 600 to 5,000 word episode at a time. If you have a story in this format that is available elsewhere, you can publish it with Kindle Vella. Notice that. If you have a story in this format that is available elsewhere, you can publish it with Kindle Vella. To ensure good customer experience, Kindle Vella does not accept content that's freely available. That's not unreasonable. If you wish to incorporate an episode or story into other content, you must unpublish all episodes of that story from Kindle Vella. So they're saying, okay, you can go ahead and publish this stuff, but if you want to include it in another publication of sorts, please pull it off of Kindle Vella. Break down your previously published book or long-form content into episodes and republish in Kindle Vella. So this is the part that they don't want you to do is if you've already got something published, they're like, hey, we know that your book breaks down in 10 parts, but it's kind of old. We want new stuff, and that's what they're looking for. Let me go ahead and continue here. If your episode or story is derived from another work you have authored, or it continues the story from a book, you may include up to 5,000 words of content from the other work in the first episode to bridge the story, provided you control the rights to do so. So they're kind of like, yeah, we'll take some stuff that's published elsewhere, only if it's adding context to your series. Not unreasonable. Again, a little ambiguous. So far, from what I can tell, is you write these series out. They want something you're making specifically for Kindle Vella. If you want to take that series and condense it down and publish it into a compilation, they're like, no. You got to take it out of the Kindle Vella program. Then you can publish it into something that's long. Bear in mind, Kindle Vella is in the business of sharing pretty much short story length content. So it's not like you can compile that series on the Kindle Vella platform. Doesn't work that way. They only do episodes. So in the event that you find for some reason Kindle Vella is just not panning out like you would like it to, you can always just unenroll, take it, put it over onto KDP, and just do the same thing. And again, I'm going to talk about more about that next week. All right, let's talk about the payout. This is the part that really a lot of people were confused. And I've got a great resource I'm going to share with you folks that's going to be inside the show notes. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Any rate, you get 50% royalty. Oh, with a catch. With a catch. Probably going, oh, well, I can price my books. No, you can't. No, it's kind of like ACX. Amazon's in control of this one. It's all based on a token-based system. So the person has the Kindle Vella app, and they purchase tokens in there. Now, it's not just a simple thing of, well, let me buy one token, and then I can read one of these short stories. Nah, not really. And I'm sure the rates are going to probably change if they have not already changed since. I wrote down these notes. Like 200 tokens equals about $1.99. 525 tokens equals $5. 1,100 tokens equals $10, and then 1,700 equals $15. Sorry, I rounded up by 1 penny. So you're probably going, okay, so I get 50% of those things. Okay, this depends on how the readers redeem their tokens, because the tokens are rewarded based on length. So in the event, for some reason, if you've got 1 token, you get 100 words. Now, clearly, you can't publish 100 words because they said 600 is a minimum. So you're looking somewhere about 6 tokens starting out. If you go up to about 5,000 words, that's 50 tokens. Now, this is the part you're going to have to do a little bit of maths on your own. It's figuring out, okay, if I've got a 5,000 word manuscript, an episode of sorts, someone spends 50 tokens on that. If the person bought 200 tokens for $1.99, then you've got to figure out how much do you get for 50 tokens from that. Again, if somebody does a bigger amount, they're ordering, say, 1,000 or 1,100 or more, 1,700, then that cost is going to significantly drop down. So it's almost better that people are buying 200 tokens at a time, because you're going to get paid a pretty hefty amount from that. So it's all going to be based on where the customer bought that token. So that token's going to have different value based on what they invested up front. Oh, there is a great resource. I'm going to share that with you in just a second. I want to, of course, give a very special thanks to each and every single one of you that have subscribed to me over on the YouTube podcast channel. Things have been really ramping up over there, and thank you so much, the first 1,000 subscribers. We are going to be officially moving the podcast over to Mondays at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel. Go over to dalelinks.com/YouTube podcast. Get yourself subscribed today. It would mean the world to me. And let's go ahead and shift into my final thoughts on Kindle Vella. My final thoughts is this: give it a shot. Try it out. If you are a nonfiction author, it's not so much suited for you, but it is still possible to publish on there, because there is one single category for nonfiction, and it's literally just nonfiction. So you can always shoot for that. Give it a shot. You're going to need to think, though, long-term game plan. What is your game plan? What do you want to get out of this? Because they don't want you to be sending people off platform, so it's not like you could probably be bribing them to go over onto your email newsletter. The only thing that you probably should be doing is getting them to consume more and more and more of your stuff that's on Kindle Vella. So when I say focus on the long term, when you think to yourself, I'm going to do Kindle Vella, you need to at least understand that in order to actually make any amount of money, I would say you're going to have a 4-part series or longer. Something that's going to go really long out there, like The Simpsons long, would probably be a ridiculous amount, but you get the idea that there's a ton of episodes with The Simpsons. So I would say that would be when you're going to see the big turnaround, is tons of parts that you're putting into this. Keelan Rivers is her name. She runs a YouTube channel podcast. And a lot of people are like, where's he coming from on this one here? I told you I would give you a great reference on this one. Keelan did a fantastic video where she actually did break down some of the numbers when it comes to what you would get based on the word count that you would have. I have a link to it inside the show notes. That is going to be, of course, below the video on YouTube, and of course, inside the show notes for the podcast. Take a look at that one. I really like her insights. She's coming at it from the standpoint of being a fiction author. I found her video very refreshing and very insightful. So big kudos to Keelan. Go over, subscribe to her. You will like her content. Also, the thing is, Kindle Vella is not customer facing yet. Okay, they have not 100% officially launched. So right now they're trying to build up a big enough catalog that when they launch it, readers have a ton of stuff to consume. Because one of the worst things they can do is show up with, say, like 1,000 of these episodes. Someone goes over, gets on that Kindle app, binge reads that stuff in a week, and then they're not going to come back to it. So I think Amazon's being very smart about how they're launching it. They're saying in the next few months, but we will certainly see in due time how that works out. And I'll definitely keep you guys up to date here on this podcast. Hey, next week, we're going to be talking about Kindle Direct Publishing versus Kindle Vella. More importantly, the KDP Select program versus Kindle Vella. Hey, subscribe or follow me on your preferred podcasting platform, and do me a favor, leave a review or leave a comment on one of the videos. And that's what Jay McCullough did 1 week ago. He mentioned, "Thank you for this channel. You're easy to learn from. It seems that you can go much deeper in layers and in diverse areas. Talk of publishing for children's books. Never have you lost our attention when granted towards you. I was the 168th user on Google when it had a counter. I've done a lot on the net. So have you. I like where have you been. It would be my pleasure to keep in touch on your subscriber list." Thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate the support and the big kudos. So a big shout out to you, a big banana sticker. Thank you so much. Hey, folks, I'm going to be catching up with you this very next week. Again, KDP Select versus Kindle Vella. Till then, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and I will chat with you soon.